The gathering storm. The Centauri Trade Summit had always been a spectacle of galactic proportions, but Commander Elena Reyes had never seen it quite like this. The massive crystalline dome of the Grand Exchange Hall stretched above her head like a frozen explosion of light, its transparent panels revealing the dance of 3 suns in the Alpha Centauri system. Below, representatives from 24 spacefaring civilizations moved through the crowd with varying degrees of grace and tension. Commander Reyes adjusted the collar of her dress uniform, the silver Earth insignia catching the light of the triple stars. As Earth's military attaché, she had attended dozens of these summits, but something felt different today. The usual cacophony of translated conversations and diplomatic pleasantries carried an undercurrent of anxiety. Commander Reyes, a resonant voice, called out. "Your presence continues to perplex us." She turned to face Ambassador Zilvax of the Valdorian Empire, his iridescent scales shifting colors in a pattern that her neural translator identified as indicating both curiosity and concern. The towering reptiloid ceremonial armor bore fresh insignias of military achievement, concerning, given the recent border disputes with the Nexus Confederation. "Ambassador," she replied with a measured smile. "I trust you're enjoying the summit." "Enjoying is not the word I would choose," Zilvax's secondary breathing membranes fluttered, a sign of agitation. "Not when your species maintains this mysterious silence while the galaxy stands on the brink of war. The Nexus Confederation masses their quantum fleets along our borders, and Earth, usually so, vocal about peacekeeping, says nothing." Elena maintained her diplomatic smile, though she felt the weight of the ambassador's 4 eyes studying her reaction. "Earth continues to monitor the situation with great interest," she replied, using the same carefully neutral phrase that had driven several alien diplomats to the equivalent of pulling their hair out, if they had hair. The ambassador's scales shifted to a deep purple of frustration. "Monitor? Commander, surely you must." A commotion near the hall's central podium interrupted him. A delegation of Nexus Confederation representatives had just entered, their crystalline environment suits pulsing with barely contained energy. Leading them was High Commissioner Aria, her humanoid form composed entirely of swirling plasma contained within an intricate lattice of force fields. "Ah," Zilvax's scales rippled with barely contained hostility. "Speaking of monitoring situations." Elena watched as the 2 delegations carefully maneuvered to opposite sides of the hall, like opposing magnetic poles. The other species present seemed to unconsciously align themselves, creating a visible divide in the crowd. Within moments, the summit had transformed into a perfect diagram of the galaxy's growing political fractures. Her neural implant buzzed with an incoming priority message. The text scrolled across her field of vision: Project Lighthouse status, 85% complete. Jupiter facility reports quantum variance stabilized. Proceed with diplomatic protocol Delta. She blinked away the message, aware of Zilvax still watching her. The ambassador's sensory tendrils were extended fully, he was trying to read her electromagnetic signature, a common Valdorian technique for detecting deception. Let him try. The new dampening technology in her uniform would give him nothing but static. "You know," she said, reaching for a floating tray of iridescent beverages being offered by a servitor drone, "I've always admired the Valdorian Empire's approach to stellar engineering. Your Dyson swarm around Proxima Centauri is particularly impressive." "Commander," Zilvax's voice dropped to a subsonic rumble that her translator struggled to process, "please do not insult us both with attempts at diversion. Our long-range sensors have detected massive energy signatures from your solar system. The industrial activity around Jupiter alone suggests preparation for spring cleaning," Elena interrupted, using the phrase that had become something of a diplomatic meme among the galactic community. "We're doing some spring cleaning." The ambassador's scales went completely black, a reaction she had never seen before. "Commander, spring is a seasonal phenomenon that doesn't exist in space." "Interesting perspective," Elena replied, taking a sip of her drink. "Though I suppose that depends on how you define seasons. And space. And existence, really." Before Zilvax could respond, a piercing tone cut through the hall's atmosphere. The central holographic display flickered to life, showing a tactical overlay of the Outer Rim territories. Red warning indicators pulsed at key strategic points. The room fell silent as High Commissioner Aria's voice resonated through the chamber. The Valdorian Empire has placed quantum mines along neutral trade routes, violating 17 different articles of the Galactic Concordat. Lies. Zilvax's diplomatic composure shattered. The Confederation's dark matter fleet movements. The argument was lost in a sudden cascade of accusations and counter-accusations. Elena watched as centuries of careful diplomacy unraveled in minutes. Her neural implant buzzed again. Project lighthouse status, 87% complete. Maintain current stance. She took another sip of her drink, observing as the galaxy's powers positioned themselves for war. Earth's silence, she knew, was about to become the loudest statement in history. The first strike. Admiral Kextal of the Valdorian Empire stood on the command deck of the dreadnought, Eternal Flame, watching as the first shots of the galactic war illuminated the void. The quantum mines they'd planted along the trade routes had served their purpose, drawing out the Nexus Confederation's cloaked fleet. Now, the darkness between stars bloomed with weapons fire that bent both space and time. Status report, he demanded, his ceremonial armor automatically adjusting to his agitated biorhythms. Multiple quantum detonations detected, Admiral, his tactical officer reported. The Confederation's dark matter ships are attempting to phase shift through our defensive line, but our targeting algorithms are compensating. Kextal's secondary eyes tracked the battle while his primary pair focused on a different display, one showing the latest sensor data from Earth's solar system. The human's continued silence puzzled him far more than the Confederation's tactics. "Show me the Jupiter readings again," he ordered. The holographic display shifted, revealing the gas giant and its constellation of moons. The industrial activity there had reached fever pitch. Energy signatures suggested massive construction projects, but the humans had somehow managed to obscure the exact nature of their work. Whatever they were building, it consumed enough power to rival a small star. "Sir," his science officer interrupted, "we're detecting unusual gravitational fluctuations from the Confederation fleet. They appear to be deploying something new." The battle display transformed as dozens of Confederation ships suddenly executed a maneuver that should have torn them apart. Instead, they seemed to fold through dimensions, reappearing behind the Valdorian line. "Impossible," Kextal's scales flickered with alarm. "Their technology shouldn't be capable of." "Admiral." Multiple direct hits. Sections 12 through 47 reporting critical damage. The deck beneath them shuddered as exotic particles tore through Valdorian shields designed to stop conventional weapons. Kextal realized with growing dread that the Confederation must have been developing new weapons in secret, just as his empire had. "Deploy the resonance cannons," he ordered. "Show them they're not the only ones with surprises." As his crew rushed to comply, a new alert caught his attention. A small diplomatic vessel had just appeared at the edge of the battle space, Earth-made, according to its signature. It wasn't broadcasting any messages or demands. It simply sat there, observing, collecting data. "Sir," his communications officer awaited orders regarding the human vessel. "Let them watch," Kextal decided. "Perhaps they'll finally choose a side when they see what real power looks like." The resonance cannons powered up, their activation sending ripples through subspace that made sensitive equipment across 3 systems malfunction. These weapons represented the pinnacle of Valdorian military science, capable of disrupting the quantum structure of matter itself. But before they could fire, every sensor on the bridge suddenly screamed with alerts. Space itself seemed to twist as hundreds of Confederation reinforcements emerged from what appeared to be artificial wormholes, another technology that shouldn't have existed. "All ships, evasive action." Kextal roared, but it was too late. The battle descended into chaos as both sides unveiled increasingly devastating weapons that violated the known laws of physics. In the midst of the destruction, Kextal noticed something odd about the human observation vessel. Its sensors were focused not on the battle itself, but on the effects their weapons were having on spacetime. They were studying something specific about the way reality warped around their conflict. "Sir," his science officer's voice carried an edge of panic, "we're detecting massive power spikes from the Jupiter construction sites. Whatever the humans are building, it's becoming active." Kextal felt his scales ripple with unease. The humans had maintained their bizarre silence even as the galaxy erupted into war around them. They had to be planning something. But what could be more important than the conflict that was about to reshape the known universe? As if in answer, his sensors detected new energy signatures emanating from Earth's solar system. They were unlike anything he'd ever seen, not weapons, not shields, but something else entirely. Something that made his most advanced scientific instruments simply refuse to function. "Admiral," his tactical officer called out, "the human vessel, it's leaving." Indeed, the small Earth ship was calmly turning away from the battle, as if it had seen everything it needed to see. As Kextal watched it disappear into FTL, he couldn't shake the feeling that they had all been playing directly into humanity's hands. "Sir. Your orders." Kextal stared at the tactical display, where two of the most powerful fleets in the galaxy were tearing reality apart in their struggle for supremacy. Yet somehow, he suspected the human silence would prove more devastating than any weapon they could deploy. "Continue the attack," he ordered, even as his scales prickled with foreboding. "But download all sensor data about those human energy signatures. Something tells me we're about to discover why Earth has been so quiet." The Hidden Project. Deep beneath Europa's icy crust, Dr. Marcus Wells stood before a holographic display that showed the galaxy tearing itself apart. The massive underground facility, carved into the moon's subsurface ocean, hummed with energy as Project Lighthouse entered its final phases. "They're using weapons that shouldn't exist," his colleague, Dr. Amara Patel, observed as they watched another battle unfold in real time. Both sides must have been preparing for this war for decades. Marcus nodded, his attention focused on the data streams flowing in from their observation vessels. Every exotic weapon discharge, every reality-warping explosion, every violation of known physics, their sensors captured it all. The galaxy's powers thought they were fighting a war. In reality, they were providing humanity with exactly what it needed. "How's the quantum variance analysis?" he asked, turning to the massive structure that dominated the center of the facility. The device, if you could call it that, defied conventional description. It looked like a cross between a telescope, a particle accelerator, and something pulled from humanity's deepest dreams about the nature of reality. "Better than we hoped," Amara replied, bringing up a new set of readings. "Each battle gives us more data on how their weapons interact with spacetime. The rifts they're creating, they're proving our theories correct." Marcus walked over to one of the observation windows that looked out into Europa's subsurface ocean. Massive structures stretched into the dark waters, their purpose known only to a select few humans. The project had required them to reshape entire moons, but they had done it quietly, piece by piece, hiding their true purpose behind a screen of apparent inactivity. "Status update from the Jupiter arrays," another scientist called out. "They're aligned and ready. We're just waiting for." A sudden alert cut through the facility's ambient hum. The main display shifted to show new sensor data from the ongoing conflicts. The Valdorians had just deployed something called a reality cascade weapon, while the Confederation countered with technology that bent probability itself. "There it is," Marcus breathed, watching the readings spike. "The final piece we needed. Their weapons are creating quantum instabilities across half the sector." He turned to face his team, scientists and engineers chosen from every corner of Earth. They had worked in secret for years, watching as the galaxy's powers built bigger weapons, created deeper rifts in spacetime, and edged closer to a catastrophe they couldn't even comprehend. "Begin final calibration," he ordered. "And send word to command, it's time for Phase 3. The facility erupted into controlled activity. Years of preparation had led to this moment. While the galaxy's great powers had focused on building weapons that could crack planets and tear holes in reality, humanity had seen something else. An opportunity. A solution that no one else had even considered. "Dr. Wells," Amara called out, her voice tight with concern. "We're detecting new energy signatures from both fleets. They're preparing to deploy something even bigger." Marcus watched as the tactical displays showed both sides moving their doomsday weapons into position. Neither the Valdorians or the Confederation understood that their weapons weren't just destroying each other, they were damaging the fabric of spacetime itself. Each battle created tears in reality that would eventually spread, consuming everything in their path. "They still think this is about territory and resources," he said, shaking his head. "They don't realize they're about to trigger a cascade failure that could unravel half the galaxy." "The observation vessels are confirming our models," another scientist reported. "The rifts are growing exponentially. At this rate, they'll reach critical mass in less than 48 hours. Marcus turned back to the massive device at the facility's heart, humanity's real project. Not a weapon to win the war, but something far more ambitious. Something that had required them to rebuild their entire solar system into a vast machine while maintaining a facade of silence and inactivity. "Begin power-up sequence," he ordered. "Alert all stations from Mercury to Neptune. Every array, every quantum sensor, every gravitational lens, we need them all perfectly aligned." As his team rushed to comply, Marcus looked again at the tactical display showing the galaxy's powers preparing to unleash their most devastating weapons. They had all assumed Earth's silence meant fear, or weakness, or indecision. None of them had guessed the truth, that humanity had seen this coming years ago, and had spent that time preparing not to fight, but to save everyone from themselves. "Sir," Amara called out, "we're receiving a priority message from Commander Reyes at the Centauri summit. The Valdorians and the Confederation, they're both preparing their final strikes. If they deploy those weapons, they'll tear a hole in reality that their entire armies can't stop," Marcus finished. "Which is exactly what we've been waiting for. Send the signal to all Earth facilities. Project Lighthouse activates in 6 hours." The message went out, and across the solar system, humanity's true work began to power up. From Mercury's quantum arrays to Neptune's gravity engines, from Europa's deep-sea facilities to Jupiter's massive energy collectors, everything they had built in silence was about to serve its real purpose. The galaxy had spent decades building weapons to win a war. Humanity had spent that time building something to end all wars, not through destruction, but through understanding of the very fabric of reality itself. As the facility hummed with increasing power, Marcus wondered how the galaxy's powers would react. The revelation. Commander Elena Reyes stood in the Centauri Summit's Grand Exchange Hall for the second time in a week, but everything had changed. The elegant diplomatic venue had been transformed into an emergency command center, holographic displays showing the devastating battle that was about to reach its climax. "The Valdorian reality cascade weapons are powering up," someone announced. "Confederation forces responding with probability distortion fields." Elena watched as both sides prepared to unleash weapons that would tear reality itself apart. Her neural implant buzzed with a priority message: Project Lighthouse activation in 10 minutes. Prepare for Protocol Omega. Representatives of the Galactic Council, she called out, her voice cutting through the chaos. For the first time in over a year, a human was about to say more than just pleasantries about spa facilities or comments about spring cleaning. Every alien delegate turned to stare at her. The moment Earth's silence would break had finally arrived. "Humanity has watched this conflict escalate," she continued, "not out of fear or indecision, but because we saw something none of you were willing to acknowledge. Your weapons aren't just destroying ships and planets, they're damaging the fundamental structure of spacetime itself." The holographic displays suddenly shifted, showing new data streams from Earth's observation vessels. The evidence was undeniable, microscopic tears in reality spreading out from every battle site, growing larger, connecting, becoming unstable. Impossible, High Commissioner Arya of the Confederation protested, her plasma form fluctuating with agitation. Our scientists would have detected. Your scientists were too focused on weapons development, Elena interrupted. Just as the Valdorians were. You were all so busy trying to destroy each other that you couldn't see you were about to destroy everything. Ambassador Zilvax's scales shifted through patterns of disbelief and growing horror as he studied the data. These readings, if they're accurate, the damage is already beyond your ability to control, Elena finished. But not beyond ours. The hall's main display suddenly lit up with new information, detailed schematics of Project Lighthouse. The massive construction projects around Jupiter, the quantum arrays near Mercury, the gravitational lenses positioned throughout the solar system, all part of a single vast machine. While you built weapons, Elena explained, we built something else. A device capable of detecting, understanding, and repairing quantum-level damage to spacetime itself. We didn't need bigger guns or stronger shields. We needed a way to fix what your wars were breaking. That's not possible, one of the Confederation scientists protested. The energy requirements alone would. A new alert cut through the chamber. On the tactical displays, both the Valdorian and Confederation fleets had just launched their final weapons. Reality-destroying forces reached out across space, ready to tear a hole in the universe that nothing could repair. Elena's neural implant flashed, Project Lighthouse activating now. Across Earth's solar system, humanity's true work revealed itself. The massive structures around Jupiter began to pulse with energy. Quantum arrays near Mercury aligned themselves with perfect precision. Gravitational lenses throughout the system focused their power on a single point in space. The effect was immediate and impossible to miss. Where reality-destroying weapons should have torn space apart, new forces intervened. The quantum damage began to repair itself. Rifts in spacetime sealed shut. The cascade of destruction simply stopped. By the first stars, Ambassador Zilvax breathed, his scales showing colors no human had ever seen before. You actually did it. This is why we were silent, Elena explained as Project Lighthouse continued its work. We needed you to show us exactly how your weapons affected spacetime. Each battle gave us more data, helped us perfect our understanding. We couldn't stop you from fighting, but we could prepare to fix what you broke. The hall erupted in a cacophony of questions and demands for explanation. But before anyone could press further, new alerts sounded. The quantum rifts weren't just being repaired, they were being transformed. Where tears in reality had threatened to destroy everything, something new was emerging. Project Lighthouse isn't just a repair system, Elena revealed. It's also a door. And now that we understand how reality works at its most fundamental level, we can show you something that makes all your weapons meaningless. The main display shifted one final time, showing something that made every alien scientist in the room forget to breathe. It was an image that would change the galaxy forever, proof that humanity's silence had hidden the greatest discovery in history. In the depths of Europa's facility, Dr. Marcus Wells watched as Project Lighthouse achieved what countless generations of scientists had only dreamed of. The quantum rifts, torn open by weapons of war, had been transformed into something entirely new, stable passages to what his team had dubbed the substructure. All readings are stable, Amara reported, her voice filled with wonder. The network is forming exactly as we predicted. On screens across the facility, they could see it happening. Where the galaxy's powers had tried to tear reality apart, Project Lighthouse was weaving those tears into an intricate lattice, a network of passages that bypassed normal space entirely. It wasn't just repairing the damage, it was using that damage to build something unprecedented. Send the data package to Commander Reyes, Marcus ordered. It's time they understood what they've been fighting over. At the Centauri summit, Elena watched as the hall's holographic displays filled with images that defied conventional physics. The assembled delegates fell silent, trying to comprehend what they were seeing. Your weapons, she explained, we're accidentally touching something that has always existed alongside our reality, a layer of spacetime that operates under completely different rules. You were so focused on destroying each other that you never stopped to ask what lay beyond the tiers you were creating. The displays showed the network forming, connecting battle sites across the galaxy. Where fleets had once needed weeks to travel between systems, stable passages now offered near-instantaneous transport. Where communications had been limited by light speed, new channels allowed immediate connection across any distance. Impossible, a Valdorian scientist whispered. The energy requirements for such a network are perfectly manageable, Elena interrupted, once you understand the underlying principles. Which we do, thanks to all the data your weapons provided. Every battle helped us refine our understanding. Every tear in spacetime showed us more about how to stabilize and control these passages. Ambassador Zilvax's scales shifted through colors of realization and dawning comprehension. Your silence, your spring cleaning. We needed to rebuild our entire solar system into a control system for this network, Elena confirmed. But we also needed you to keep fighting, keep showing us exactly how your weapons affected reality. If we'd told you what we were doing, we would have stopped. High Commissioner Arya finished, her plasma form pulsing with what might have been embarrassment. Or worse, tried to seize control of the project. Instead, Elena continued, you gave us everything we needed to build something that makes your weapons obsolete. Why fight over trade routes when you can step between star systems instantly? Why battle for resources when you can reach any point in the galaxy without spending energy on conventional travel? The displays showed the network growing, stabilizing, becoming permanent. Project Lighthouse's energy signature pulsed through the structure, maintaining and strengthening the connections. What had started as an attempt to prevent reality from unraveling had become something far more profound, a new way of existing in the universe. Back in the Europa facility, Marcus watched as the final connections fell into place. Network stability at 100%, Amara announced. All passages are operational and self-sustaining. He smiled, thinking of all the years of silence, all the careful planning and secret construction. Send the activation codes to every Earth facility, he ordered. It's time to bring the network fully online. In the Centauri Summit Hall, Elena felt her neural implant buzz one final time, network active. Protocol Omega complete. Representatives of the Galactic Council, she addressed the still-stunned audience, Earth formally proposes the establishment of the Substructure Transit Authority, a neutral organization to manage and maintain this network for the benefit of all species. The hall erupted in a chaos of questions, demands, and exclamations of disbelief. But beneath it all, Elena could sense something else, relief. The weapons were powering down. The fleets were standing down. In the face of such a monumental discovery, the reasons for war seemed suddenly small and insignificant. Of course, she added with the faintest smile, Earth would be happy to share this technology with all peaceful species. Though I should warn you, the instruction manual is quite lengthy. You might want to start with the basics. Like understanding why spring cleaning is sometimes more important than spring itself. In the weeks that followed, as the galaxy struggled to adapt to this new paradigm, many asked why humanity had chosen such an indirect path. Why not simply announce their discovery? Why maintain the silence for so long? The answer, when it came, was quintessentially human. Sometimes, the only way to help people see beyond their conflicts was to let them fight until they created the very thing that would make fighting pointless. Sometimes, the loudest statement was silence itself. And sometimes, spring cleaning really did change everything.